Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of the Fourth Heritage Mindset. I'm very, very honored and pleased today to be hosting my longtime friend, Mr. Samuel Karekia Mugo, all the way from Kenya, but I think right now he's in Zimbabwe. He's on this channel today to help review or unpack my first book, The Fourth Heritage. And without wasting much time, uh, Sam Karekia Mugo, you are most welcome, The Fourth Heritage Mindset.
Thank you so much, Sunny.
No
Yeah,
problem.
the
Uh,
pleasure. Yeah.
yeah, so to start off, can you identify yourself?
All right. Thank you so much, Sunny. So, as you've heard, my names, even for the purpose of this episode,
Mm,
Samuel English,
mm,
Karekia Mugo. The last two names,
mm,
Kikuyu. Yeah.
mm,
So, given those are my names, and who I am, it's difficult now, actually, Sunny, to explain
mm,
who I am, into what context. That is why I love that we're having this conversation with you.
mm,
Yeah, because now, do I describe my profession? If I describe my profession, then I would say
mm,
I'm an engineer, I'm an
mm,
operations manager.
mhm,
If I have to say who I am in terms of my heritage, who
mm,
do I say I am? I'm an African, I'm an Kenyan, I'm a Pan
mm,
African. You
mhm.
see, so even by asking me to introduce
Who are you?
myself, who I am,
It's complicated.
it's complicated. I don't know whether to say my names, to
Uh-huh.
flash out my business card, yeah, or give you my history, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And such a simple question
Mm,
is such a great introduction into what we're about to discuss today
mm,
because it's complicated.
mm.
Yeah.
When you read this book, how can you summarize it for people who haven't read it?
Yeah. So what I can say, Sunny, is even before you read that book,
Mm,
me and you were close on a
mm,
day-to-day basis.
mm.
So even before the book, even
Yeah.
before the words themselves were formed,
Yeah.
there
Yeah.
was this bigger question
Yeah.
of who am I?
Yeah.
You see. So when you talk about the fourth heritage, what I can tell
Yeah.
anybody from Africa is,
Mm,
have you ever asked yourself the question, who are you?
mm,
Deeply,
mm,
with no fear or prejudice.
mm, mm,
And when you ask yourself that question, you
mm,
face certain torrents of, what would I say,
mm.
confusion,
Yeah.
uncertainty.
Conflicts. Yeah. Mm.
Yes, you
Contradiction.
have,
Mm,
that is a question that requires courage to ask and for you to look at the answer. So
mm,
when I talk about this book about the fourth heritage, when you ask yourself, who are you? Emmanuel,
mm,
Samuel, where did that name come from? Your middle name, where did that name
mm,
came from? Yeah, your religion,
mm,
your culture, you see.
mm,
So you
mm,
asked a very disturbing
mm,
but pertinent question. Why would I say disturbing? Because we came up with you. So
mm.
I know the origin of this.
The fourth
They say
heritage.
a great book comes from one psyche. It comes from one psyche, one soul.
Mm,
The best books in this world have been written from the question in the other's soul. Those probing questions that
mm.
have to be exposed and dissected in the public, which takes a lot of courage, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So when you ask that question of
mm.
the fourth heritage,
Heritage. Mm,
so you're asking, who am I? So do you answer yourself? You are you an African?
mm,
Are you
mhm,
the person from
mm,
Uganda? Are you from the
mhm,
person of your
mm,
religion? So you ask
mhm,
eth- ethnic
mm,
identification, national identity,
mm.
yeah,
Religious.
religious identity, yeah,
Mm,
and those are the fundamental blocks that form the human psyche.
mm. Not only
Yeah,
African. Mm,
not only African.
mm,
So you asked a very fundamental
mm,
question with
mm,
far-reaching consequences that even right now, Sunny, we have
mm,
not begun
mm.
to grasp.
Scratch.
Yeah, you know, we were taught in physics that when you start a wave, when you
Uh-huh.
start a motion, yeah,
Yeah.
those waves grow and amplify. I can assure you that even you have not begun to grasp the identity of that question. You asked the question, that the first Africans, after they came into contact with the foreigners as themselves, you had the pure Africans. They meet with these foreign forces, whether be it religious forces of Islam or Christianity, or culture forces of Western culture. And yet we also have our own traditional culture. You ask the question that when these forces came in collision, after a generation, when we had been introduced to the Western or Islamic society, that question was in everybody's lips. And you asked a question that nobody has ever been able to answer in a succinct, precise, concise manner. So for me, in short, what I can say that the fourth heritage for me was a very good attempt at answering that question that it's at every African soul. Who am I?
Who am I? Given the confluence of these three heritages.
Exactly. And you put it so clearly. And you ever since I've used that model you used. Use culture, use religion, use the traditional mindset, and you said, okay, with these three, then there has to be something that arises of these three core identities. They have to bear both a fourth identity. So for me, what I would tell anybody who has never read this book, that is the book that all Africans, it answers the fundamental questions you ask yourself subconsciously, whether you read or not. Who are you? Who am I? And what is my role in this world?
Good. Thank you for that response. I think it's very clear. Okay, good. My second question is, since you finished reading this book, any new insights that you got from the book you would like to share? Something memorable or insight from the book?
There are two insights I would like to say. One is a personal anecdote, and the other one is a professional anecdote. Because this book asks the basic question: who am I? An African in a modern sense. Because you in your book you go back to the history of what creates our identity, from colonial occupation, from a blissful, I'll not say blissful, from uninterrupted pure African heritage into pre-colonial occupation to colonial occupation and dependence. So you take people through this journey. At the first idea I see here is when you look at your life as a man, in the African culture, we had our life very clearly defined.
Our roles.
You move from from child to boy to young adult to warrior to elder to so forth until you die. But now here we have something else, and they introduce another puzzle in this all, which was previously a very straight line. Our ancestors had it to a dot on how your life was supposed to follow. But then now they introduce that, they say, okay, you need to think the way you think about the divine, the soul, and everything. So for me, how it came personal is that you go through what you call baptism. They say, man, this is your language, this is your tribe, but man, we need to add you this fancy name.
From this book.
From this book. And you have to learn about this book. So first of all, that already muddies the waters. Where the waters were very still, and the path was very clear, straight and narrow. Now the paths have been muddied, you see. So we end up with these three names, and we have to take this additional name because we have accepted this new religion, this new divine way of, So look, so what I'm trying to say is that from your book, it made it very clear that the fact that we accept different names and different religious identities as Africans, that already is a paradigm shift. Yeah. Now, number 2 is professional. So once you accept that, it becomes actually easier to integrate into the professional world, Yeah. And once you have a familiar sounding name, with familiar mannerism, you get integrated into this professional world, which is dictated by the prevailing powers at that time, which are the powers that dominated our psyche and our physical sense to actually dominating a continent. So once you have this personal domination, then it also dominates your professional life. So the two things I've said. Personally, I felt the idea in your book, my identity, the crisis. Then professionally, I've seen the advantage of being aware of that. Yeah. First of all, your colleagues from all over the world will refer to you by the most prevailing name, which is the most prevailing culture. Yeah.
Or even
then
talk
you get
to
the
you.
mannerisms, you get the language. Yes.
Yeah, they talk to you in
exactly. Even
not
how
in your
they talk
tribal
to
language.
you. Exactly. So look, in 1880, our forefathers knew they had some rumors, of something is happening. But in a generation, in 100 years, 1980, when we were born, we were living a life our forefathers would never have imagined, even in their worst nightmare. You know what I mean? So personally, our names and our psyches were changed. Professionally, our lives were also totally dependent on us being able to work through this new identity. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And just to add on that, yes, those manifestations are irrefutable. That confluence of coming in contact with the foreign religion and foreign global aspects of how the world now is working. We came face to face with it through colonialism or Arab conquest, but now we have what we have. And I guess one of the things I was trying to do in this book is to give a formula on how you can pick those positive aspects and shun the negative aspects. Because as you know, not everything you've talked about is positive. There are some really, really negative aspects of that contact. How do you deal with the negative aspects?
Yes. Now, the negative aspects certainly require courage, which is what I saw in your first. I'll call it. I'll not even call it your first proposition. It requires courage because you put forward a position that actually offends some aspects of the people who want to say no. We want to remain in status quo.
Yeah.
So you pushed back because you wanted to break out of this mold. Yeah. So how you deal with that is that you have to be very honest with yourself. Honest with yourself is you have to look at your reality, your current situation, and ask yourself, okay, all these mental models, because there are more mental and cultural models you keep in your mind and in your psyche. How do they help me in this current situation? And you proposed a way of saying that since you have these three heritages of the African culture, the religion, whether it's Islam or Christianity, or the Western culture, then you should integrate these three to form a way forward. You see? So for me, how you deal with the negative ethnicity is to ask yourself, and look, I'll be very blunt here. I don't want to say purely utilitarianism. But sometimes that is what it is. How does it help you? How does holding a belief help you progress in the future, or help our people progress in the future? It's the same thing that can be asked about investing. Why do you hold on to a stock? because you think it will appreciate, But what about us? If we hold on to a certain fundamental belief, how does it help us in the future? So whatever you did by challenging that we need to form a fourth identity, I think it was quite courageous. Maybe at that time it looked foolhardy, or like they say in the Bible, John the Baptist preaching in the wilderness. But if you look over several years, that question has been raised in different formats by various African scholars.
Yes. Using different words or different formulations.
Exactly. But, so what we are saying is that we pay homage to ancestors that, yes, they did what they could do, our forefathers. Yeah. And we say, okay, we were influenced by this foreign force. And also we are influenced by this foreign force, political, socio-economic agricultures. But now because of this influence, we cannot remain still or stuck in a panic or flabbergasted mode that you have to chart a way forward. So for me, I believe you have to confront, and that is what you did. And I know that personally because I've known you personally for so many years. So you confronted the ugly reality, and you faced it head on, even to your own personal risk, because that's a question that can mess with your basic building blocks as a person of your identity, mentally, socially.
Even with the people close to you, even with your close people. You're right.
Yeah. And that's why, Sunny, I wanted us, when you asked me what book I wanted to take, for me, that book still remains the most fundamental work that you ever began. Because you opened this door to question and to chart the way forward. And you formulated a very simple framework of forging your way forward from this chaos. Like Chinua Achebe said that things fall apart, the center has fallen. I don't know exactly quote. The center can't hold. So you took it from Chinua Achebe when he said, the center cannot hold. So you not only addressed the great poets of Africa before, but you said, you know what? You actually experienced it internally, viscerally in your life.
Yes.
And now you charted this way forward.
Wow. Well put. That is really, really good. I hope the viewers listened very carefully to how you articulated that. The fact is that individual Africans, you and me, whether you accept it or not, there is that question that subconsciously we ask ourselves, who are we? Like right now we are speaking in an English language, but we are Africans. What does that mean? And there are layers of our identity that most of us shy away from. But what you're saying is I asked the question and I made an attempt.
And at the same time, we might hate some aspects, but at the same time, me and you cannot communicate if it was not for this common foreign language that we have between us.
See? There is no way in
you have to accept the bitter and the sweet. You cannot be biased. When you ask yourself, who are you? You have to be prepared for the good, the bad, and the ugly of the answer.
Yes. That's well put.
Yes.
The good, the bad, and the ugly. That's a very good anecdote. If it wasn't for English, there is no way in hell I could communicate to you in Gikuyu.
We'll be communicating in sign language, man.
That's a good one. Okay. My next question is how would you recommend, why would you recommend people to read this book?
Very simple, Sunny, because first of all, we will start at current affairs. How is your part of the continent described? Then you come now to your life story. What have you experienced up to this point in your life? Then you come to personal identity. What are your names? And you find that your fourth heritage, that majority, I would say 90% of the people will have what I would say the dominating colonial power name. Then they will have their origin in terms of ethnicity name.
Mm-hmm.
Then in terms of culture, it will be a cross between of these two. And their religion also will be a cross between of the dominating colonial power and their ethnicity. See? So the thing is, it will be like, don't avoid the obvious question. Face that painful question you need to ask yourself. Yeah. So for me, what I would advise the guys is that you don't. This is not what you wrote is not a philosophy book. It's a personal odyssey, maybe for lack of a better term. Yeah.
Personal journey.
Because you see it in every day. You are born, you go to church, you ask yourself, what the hell is this? You go to school, you come, you know what I mean? You face that question.
Yeah.
If you are conscious enough, every walk of your life, even professionally. You ask yourself, I don't look the same, I don't sound the same, but I'm named the same. But these people are not named like me. How come there are no people called as African names in the West? No, sometimes you asked a very pertinent question, Sunny. And nobody has ever asked that other question, which can seem very rude to ask. Why don't you call this name? You see? So, look, all I can say that having spent my time in the US and having worked now all my life after US here, people are afraid to ask that question because they know. They know that whatever dominates the social, cultural, economic, dominates the psyche of the population. Yeah, for me, that's what I want to recommend this book. Viewers, I want you to get into that book. And it's a personal story because I'm vouching because I've known the author, Sunny, since then, when we were in our early 20s. So if you can stomach the discomfort of exploring those disturbing questions, then you'll be able to chat your way forward. And for me personally, I would say simple because I've been able to thrive in an African context, in a religious context, and in a professional context in this world. Yeah. So, and I think for you, Sunny, that was a brilliant revelation, and for your courage for sharing that with the world. Because for me, what you did, I would say, took courage. Yeah, it took courage because it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, but you know, at some end, we all have to face our demons. It was something deep on my heart, in my psyche. I couldn't sleep, you know.
Exactly. And now, Sunny, and exactly, I like that you put it because not many people would understand this, but this book is personal. Yeah. This book is about a typical African with potential to be globally relevant. Listen what I've said. A typical African with potential to be globally relevant. Yeah. This is almost like a movie, man. You should actually make this book into a movie. Yeah. This boy comes up in this village, grows up, and asks himself who I am, answers these big questions, and is globally relevant, like you are now. Yeah. And your story is better told. That we've discussed this before, how you can make it, you know, it will help unlock a lot of potential for that African. And this one I'll be very specific. That African anywhere in the world. Yeah, because you expose your soul, you expose your own struggle to the world. And that took courage because I know I was there. It took courage. Yeah, it took courage. And I learned from that. And that's part of the reason why I was able to walk the path which I decided to after college.
Thank you for that. The last question I would like to ask is, you a parent, and I'm soon also going to be a parent. As you bring up your kid, for Africans out there who are bringing up children who are being educated with colonial education, some of it good, some of it bad, how can you, what ideas do you get from this book to help the education of your boy?
That's a very great question, Sunny. But again, is what you address in your book. We have to ask ourselves. Yeah. And I'm going to use the example of an engineer because I'm an engineer. To build a building, you need the foundation. Yeah. So what are these foundational blocks that any building cannot exist without?
Yep.
Yeah. So as a parent, I would want my son to know about his ancestry, which is the African identity. He has to, because that's a fundamental building block.
Yeah. Without
Number
that,
two, yes. Number two, I would want him to know if he has that ancestral block. Why does he have a funny sounding name? And why is he talking a funny sounding language? Because most of our kids, let's face it, most of them struggle with our ethnic language. Then he has to understand that because this was how we started. Now this language and these names came here. Then he has to understand is spiritual. And now I know this is a very uncomfortable topic in every academic world.
Yeah.
Spiritual identity. And he has to know why it either worship this or that. Yeah. And not what was done before. Now those are three. Then from these three, language identity, culture identity, religious identity. Yeah. He needs to know that so that he can able to participate in the formation of the fourth and the fourth
and
actually
beyond.
is the most practical identity, because that is the identity now that will transform the lives of Africans. The fourth and the beyond. So it's about integration. He has to know these individual parts, and once he knows the individual parts, integration is best. How best do I put this together?
That's the most important.
Exactly. And for me, that is what I'll teach my son. For some of us in the African continent, I've oscillated between the two extremes of saying, I want to drop my English name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at some point I went a crazy time like that. Then I've also oscillated, like I want to drop my African names. But then I realized, what is the truth? The truth is that I'm no longer defined by either or. I'm defined by both. Yeah. And once, if you can face the courage to face the chaos of realizing the work you have to do to integrate, because it's chaos, man. It's chaos.
Yes.
Yeah? So for me, what I would say Africans is that take your time to break this into bite-sized chunks to your children, to your friends, to your colleagues. And personally, that I'm still stuck at that idea because for me, I was like, what? Wow. It's like the Bible. All the other things you've written will now be like interpretations to the Bible, And I'm not saying this in a fraternal way. So what I would wish for you, Sunny, is that if you can get into an engagement now with like-minds onto this first concept, then all these other concepts will grow.
Wow.
Yeah. And because we have had these personal conversations with you numerous times, bite-sized chunks to the man on the bus. Yeah. To the man on the bus. You know what I mean? What does your idea mean to the man on the bus? So my challenge to you now, and also for me, is that your works, the original idea should not remain
in the book.
It should not remain. What do you call this? Esoteric.
Esoteric knowledge. Esoteric.
Yes.
Yeah.
Find a way how it can get down, because your work can make a difference. I live here. I've lived here for so long in Africa, and direction, purpose. You can add real value there. Yeah. And that's a conversation we have been having for so long.
I know. I have it at the back of my mind. And just to respond to that, COVID has stymied some things. There were plans that we had in motion, but COVID has slowed us a little bit. So my plan is next year, there will be a plan of action. We are going to operationalize some of these things. Me and people who have read these books, we talk here and there. So whenever we can get to travel and have events, we're going to have a little more activities to disseminate these ideas, starting from the fourth heritage. But you emphasizing the fact that the fourth heritage is the bedrock. I will remember that, because sometimes I get carried away, and I get to emphasize the new stuff. But
exactly. For me, what I would encourage you, Sunny, is not even a context of that first one. It's the why of the first one.
The why.
Yes. If people can understand the why of the first book, the big question that you have to answer, then everything else will follow suit.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how best I can summarize it,
wow.
Sunny.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, thank you for that advice, because it really hits home. Sometimes I forget about that initial question, that initial nagging question that led to the burst of creativity and energy that you see in this book. So, no, I'll remember that. Parting word, do you have any last minute information to pass on to my viewers, wherever in the world they are?
Yeah, so for me, what I would say now, I'll talk as a parent. Yeah, so teach your kids the truth, even the uncomfortable truth. Yeah, don't just teach them what makes them cool or employable in the current world. Teach them the truth. Yeah, and for me, I've purposed that because as a human being in the African continent, I'll have to answer all the questions you raised in your first book. And as simple as you put the ideas, when you're trying to explain them to somebody of a different generation from you, it's even more complicated. Let's have this discussion now, inshallah.
Yeah. Okay.
In 5 years' time. And you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You trying to explain them why your name is so,
why
you do 1, 2, 3, like that. And you understand why I've said what I've said.
Our children.
That's what I'm saying. Because all will live in this world is our legacy through our works, and our progeny. Nothing else. Everything else will pass away.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for that closing statement. For the viewers, thank you for watching this episode. As you know, every week I bring you a video whose whole purpose is to inspire some change, some aspect of change of our African mindsets. And as I keep saying, the struggle is to change our mindsets. So I hope this conversation has helped in that road for you to think about some things and change what you might think about your tribe, your religion, your colonial history, your identity, or anything. Thank you very much, and talk to you next weekend.